All right, we're on air live with our fireside chat at Cinco de Mayo Mexican restaurant on 14795 Lebanon Road, a place that Joey Edwards, Mark Foulks, frequently visits. Mark Foulks, our fire chief, here with us. Justin Beasley, your communications director. Mark, we kind of want to start this maybe like a monthly video just to inform all of the citizens in Mount Juliet of kind of what the fire department is up to. I know many people that watch the Board of Commissioners meetings can find out kind of what you're up to, but this is a way to maybe find them during a lunch hour more conveniently on Facebook and just tell them all that the department's up to. I know you've been here a little more than 7 months, kind of working your way in. You're fully entrenched now, and I think I heard you say the other day at an HOA meeting that really it was the Board of Commissioners and the support and the backing of the fire department that really made this a special job for you to take and really continue to propel with.
Yeah. We're just so proud of the support that we get from both the city administration and the Board of Commissioners, the mayor. I don't think a lot of people know this, or some people may not know, this fire department's only existed for 10 years.
Right.
So, I mean, in fire department aspects, it's a very, very young fire department because most of the fire departments that are originated in the state of Tennessee were originated in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And so, that's a huge difference in 10 years ago for us and the early 2000s essentially,
right,
versus the early 1900s for most fire departments. So where we don't have that long-standing tradition, we do have a great 10-year tradition of taking care of our citizens here in Mount Juliet and making sure that we're doing everything that we can for them. And that's just continuing even more so with the support of the mayor and the commission, because we couldn't do it without their support and the way that we're providing that public safety wise. That the feel that I got when I interviewed here and all that was public safety was the most important thing. The safety of our citizens was the most important overriding thing to everybody in our community, and that's what made the difference. And it is what makes the difference, because I think we're one of the safest, if not the safest, community in the state of Tennessee. Great police department, great fire department, providing great EMS services as well in our fire department. It's just a huge thing for our citizens to realize how safe they are compared.
They go hand in hand, and you mentioned, I think we'll celebrate 11 years this upcoming September.
Yep.
I would almost dare to say that no department this young ever had an EMS department within their fire department. I think we're just one of two, you said, in the state. Correct me if I'm wrong. One of 10, which is just out. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
What we're giving the citizens here,
especially to only be in existence 10 years. And last March we started our EMS service, so we just passed our 1-year anniversary of providing EMS transport, which is ambulances. We've always provided first responder level services where the fire trucks are going on medical calls, but in the past that was WEMA responding to a lot of those and everything. And we made the decision as the city to start providing that service, internally within the fire department, because providing, having that dedicated ambulances to the city and to our citizens, and just having a lot better grasp on the service levels that our citizens need and what their needs are as far as the emergency services go.
Right, which is outstanding. And that kind of leads me to my next point. You said used to the fire department would go to those calls before the EMS came online. Now we have a training class coming up to get everybody certified for EMT. Am I understanding that correct?
Yeah, we had some firefighters that we hired in the past that were not EMTs and EMTs or paramedics. They lacked the medical training per se.
Right.
But they have actually, we've got classes coming online this coming month in April that'll basically get them from emergency medical responder level, which is kind of the lowest level of training that firefighters are going to have in emergency services. And it's basically a little bit above first aid that you would have. It's a training level that's a tad bit above that as far as that goes, but EMT, advanced EMT, and paramedic just raised the bar on all those levels. And so we are looking to get all of the personnel that are now EMRs trained at EMT and advanced EMT levels.
Okay.
And that'll increase our level of service that we can provide to the entire community. And additionally, we just applied for a grant. It's over $1 million grant that we're hoping to get from the federal government. If that grant goes through, we'll be able to send 16 of our personnel to paramedic school. So even further up the training that we're getting for our personnel to get into that paramedic level where we are providing the very top level of service at all times to our citizens.
So my understanding is you can never have enough training. I think most of the time when people think that, fighter department, you're working 48-hour shifts, There might be weightlifting or playing games or whatever. There's a ton of training that goes on during that time that's very intentional that you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. There's a ton of training. There's a lot of things that we do. Pre-incident planning for buildings is something that we do where we go into commercial businesses and make sure we know where all the connections are, where the electrical cutoffs are, where the natural gas cutoffs are, who the key holders are that we need.
And that's not just the fire marshal. That's staff included.
That's our personnel
Okay.
going out to get a look at the building. That way they're familiar with it. That way if we have something happen there, a fire otherwise, we're already familiar with the building. We've got a system in Mount Juliet here that a lot of places have, a lot of cities have, that's called Knox system.
Okay.
It's basically a vault on the building, and all of our commercial, especially new commercial occupancies, but if you change occupancies, we're going to require you to have one. But it's basically a vault that goes on the building, a little small box that has the keys to the building. And that way, if we have an emergency there happen after hours, just like at this restaurant, it's a wonderful place, but it's not always staffed because when it closes down at night, there's nobody here overnight.
Right.
And if something happens, instead of us having to break the door to get in and kind of see what's going on, we can actually enter with that key. And we've got a key that's secured on all of our fire trucks in a basically another secure vault that our employees can access through a PIN code. And that gives them access to pull that key out and access the vault that gets us into the building, the little small box.
And this applies to businesses that have been established here, buildings, physical structures that have been here for a while. And I think you're pretty well known after 8 months, almost 8 months here, that we're adding a lot of new structures on, like a Costco, a BJ's Wholesale, Rooms to Go eventually, all the other restaurants on the north side of town. So that's a full-time job, is it not?
Oh, yeah, it is a full-time job. Our fire marshal, Brent Blaymeyers, does a great job kind of keeping up with that. Those boxes and putting them in. I think the new Costco building is going to have 5 of those key boxes on it at different locations around the building because it's a very large building.
Yeah.
And so with it being as large as it is, we need to have access. Several other buildings have multiples, and then we've got a lot of buildings that are in strip malls and stuff like that may only have a single box on the building where we can access those buildings. But it gives us immediate access. So if there's an emergency happening in there, we can get into that and get into the buildings and doing that. And we're getting ready to introduce within the next couple of months a home box program. So people that are elderly or have got medical issues that may not be able to get to the door when they call for an ambulance, or they've got medical alert, either a bracelet or a medical device where they're calling through a medical alert company.
Right.
When they call us, we can actually enter their house without causing damage to the door with that same style home box that we can put on their house and get into their house and get access to them immediately if they need us in that situation. So we're going to be introducing that program within the next month or two, to where our residents can either purchase those or hopefully have a loaner program through the fire department where for those that need that box that can't afford it, maybe we can get those boxes onto those houses. So it's a really neat program.
I hope our audience finds this as fascinating as I do. I spent a lot of time with you and Joey, and really this is new news to me, learning stuff like this. So it's really cool there's so much science that goes on in any and every decision that you make. And I also love the fact that Mount Juliet, you see the Board of Commissioners room the second and fourth Monday at 6:30 every month. We have a ton of people in there, a ton of people online that are always trying to see what our government is doing and how we're continuing to evolve. You've been pretty busy at the Board of Commissioners meetings because you've got some progress on Old Lebanon Dirt Road that you'll potentially be breaking ground in this summer, and you've done a lot of the early stages of getting a new fire station online.
Yeah. And again, that just shows the support from the Board of Commissioners that we're going to be essentially building a new fire station to replace Station 3.
Okay.
And Station 3 has been there for years on Hill Street, right behind City Hall.
Right.
I think it's probably a circa 1950s building that's been there. And so our firefighters are currently responding out of that building and in that building. And it's served us well over the years, but it's a 1950s building.
Right.
And so it comes along with all the problems of a 1950s building, and it's undersized for what we need and things like that. So the new building that we'll be building on 11 and Dirt Road is at 4370 11 and Dirt Road. It's currently a house is sitting on that property, but in this summer in July or so, we'll be breaking ground on a new building there, hopefully.
Can I get a hard hat? I hear y'all are working on hard hats.
We might get you a hard hat.
Okay.
Maybe.
I'll put in a good word through Joey to get to you.
We'll have to get Rocky's permission to get you a hard hat.
Okay.
Will he grant permission?
He's one of my 50 bosses, so.
Yeah.
Hopefully he gives me a good recommendation.
Well,
go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt
I'll
you.
ask Rocky to see if we can get you on.
Okay, thank you.
We'll
I've got a big head, so
make sure that that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
We'll be doing the groundbreaking at some point then, and we're really excited. We're going to actually be moving some of our resources because that station is so centralized to Mount Juliet. We've got really, truthfully, Mount Juliet has kind of always been long and linear. I mean, it's got, it touches the two lakes, as we say. And so we've always had a station on Belinda Parkway since we've been in existence, and always had Station 3 on Hill Avenue. And then we built the Green Hill Station and opened it this past year. And so that kind of gives us the North Station at Green Hill, the South Station on Belinda Parkway, and then Station 3 is kind of in the middle of those two. But we found through looking at some GIS maps and looking at some mapping and some analysis on our call volumes and where those call volumes are at, that the station actually needs to move south just a little bit.
Okay.
And so we're going to move it down to 11 and Dirt Road from where it is on Hill Street for that reason. We found that property there, which is perfect location for us. It's going to be nice because we're going to relocate our aerial ladder truck. We've only got one ladder truck that is in service right now in our city, and it's currently on Belinda Parkway. But we're going to relocate that to Station 3. That way it's in the center of the city and can cover all the areas of the city without having to traverse, from Belinda Parkway all the way up to Lebanon Road and et cetera. And so it really is going to put that in a much more strategic location, as well as our battalion chief on shift and our EMS lieutenant that serves, because we've got one of those per shift. And they need to be centrally located to be able to get to calls and be able to get to the stations as they need to. So those resources will also be moved to that new station. So it's going to be a great station for us. It's going to serve very functional. Planning on building a training room onto the station as well to have time for more training and have a place to do it that's centrally located to where we can keep everybody in service and able to respond in a very rapid manner.
That's amazing. You mentioned the 3 fire stations. The one on Belinda, is there some news with that one as far as adding a little bit to it?
We're actually going to, that station was a little bit undersized as well when it was built, of course, but we've grown as a department. I mean, at the time.
With the city.
Basically 2.5 years ago, we had 24 people in the department. Now we have 24 people assigned to every shift. And so we've gone from 24 people to about 79 people in about 2.5 years. And so we have grown as the city has grown. And we're doing a lot of catch up on that. Thank you to the commissioners and everybody for getting us where we need to get on that and making sure that we're taken care of. But it's a huge endeavor when you're bringing on that many people. And so we need to build on a little bit to Station 1. Commission approved that in last year's budget. And so we're actually going to be putting that out for bid probably any day now within the next few weeks. Get the bid out on that project and get that station expanded a little bit. So they're going to be seeing some work on that going on. Even though we're moving the ladder truck out, we still need to expand that space there on Belinda Parkway because it really is a major need for us to have that additional space at that station.
You mentioned a little bit about having 24 on each shift. It made me think, our boss, Kenny Martin, is always talking to us about being good stewards of the resources that we have for our citizens. And specifically, I've heard you say this quite a few times, that you preach to your men and women of your service to respond to each household, each incident, as if it was their mother or father.
Oh, yeah.
And, I'm a public information officer, so I have off days where, I don't exactly put in 110%, but with your men and women, you task them every single time, like, you have to take this very serious.
Oh, yeah.
And that's really the attitude you have to have in that field to respond to someone's need in their most critical moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of been our guiding principle. For a lot of my career, it's my guiding principle, or all of my career is. And I try to pass that on to everybody and make sure that we're responding that same way, because when it comes down to it, when we're truly public servants, it's all about taking care of people just like you would take care of the most important person in your life, whether that's your child or whether that's your parents or whether that's your grandparents or your spouse or otherwise, making sure that you're doing everything for that person, because the truth of it is that person that we're responding to is somebody's most important person, and we need to treat them accordingly. And whatever the circumstances are, whether it's a motor vehicle accident, it's a medical call, it's a fire call, we're always going to treat those people and we're always going to treat their property exactly like we would want the most important person in our lives treated. And that's the way that we try to do things, because we can't be off. We can't have an off day whenever it comes to taking care of our citizens. And regardless of whether we've answered, 4 or 5 calls after midnight on a night, when that 5th or 6th call comes in, we've got to be just as on top of the game as we were on the first call that came in that night. And so that's what we strive to do all the time. and we're making sure that we're doing that. And that's part of the facilities there. You know, we're making sure that our firefighters have the facilities that they need to get rested when they're not on calls, and also to have fitness equipment there. Every station, once we get Station 1 renovated, when we get Station 3 rebuilt, or the new station built, all 3 stations will have fitness rooms that are inside the building where our firefighters can work out while they're on shift and keep in shape, and as well as a comfortable space for downtime when they're not answering calls, so they can rejuvenate to be ready to answer those other calls.
And that's a recruitment tool. As much as your emphasis 1,000% is on the citizens, you also want to take care of your people too, to keep them happy, wanting to come to work every day, and to recruit more people. When the city continues to grow, you got to add staff as well. And you want to be competitive. And
that's what we go after the best. You know, we're unlike before, kind of when we were started out as a fire department in the past, we were, we kind of recruited people that didn't have any training, and we were training them up to become firefighters and things like that. And it's not to say that we'll never do that again as far as that goes, but right now we're in a unique position to where we can actually go after the best people out there.
A lot of leverage.
And a lot of people that have experience. We really are not hiring anybody in our fire department that's not a firefighter, advanced EMT, or a firefighter paramedic now. We're bringing them on with some experience and all that training that comes with them. It saves us money on training them on the front end, and it provides us that experience that you just can't even buy the experience level that a lot of people are bringing in from us. And it's from both different areas as well as areas that are local to here, but they're bringing in those experiences to be able to help people. But really, that environment of wanting to help people and having that driving force behind our department is a huge drawing point to us, as well as the way that we take care of our people. And our commission has funded us well enough to where we can pay people to do the job well enough to do it, and provide the level of service that our citizens want and demand, that is on board with that. And so that's what we want to provide, is the absolute best services that we possibly can.
Yeah, no matter how young you are, even at 11 years, which is pretty astounding to be this far in 11 years, nestled in Wilson County with, there's a standard here. There just is, and we've got to meet it. Joey Edwards is here with us. We also have an assistant chief of EMS, Eric Newman. Training Chief Scott Lively. A lot of people have seen him around town. As you've mentioned, he's a fan favorite. Can you tell us a little bit about what his job is tasked to do? And I think you've mentioned it. I've got it in my notes. You're deep in service right now, so I imagine he's as busy as anybody lately.
Yeah, and well, we have a great command staff. I mean, starting with Chief Edwards as our deputy chief, the second in command in the department, and he runs our operations division as well. We just have a great command staff all the way down. Chief Newman came to us as we were starting the EMS program and getting online with that. I had a lot of experience both in county EMS services as well as aeromedical EMS services, as well as with Vanderbilt. And so Eric came to us with a lot of that. You mentioned Scott Lively, and he's an assistant chief. He's over our training division, which is brand new established when we hired him, and he's actually here, so I can actually bring him in here. Come here, Scott.
Come here, Scott.
Let's get a look at you. Come on
now. Don't be bashful. We need some good looks added to this broadcast, don't we?
Absolutely. So this is Chief Lively. Chief Lively spent almost 30 years with the Nashville Fire Department, and he rose through the ranks, all the way up through the ranks, and became the training chief in Nashville. And his last several years of his career in Nashville, he spent as the training chief, and we kind of talked him into retiring a little bit early to come over here and work with us in Mount Juliet and establish our training division from ground up. And that's what he's already gotten well underway. We're doing a fantastic in-service program this year. Today, they're actually learning building construction, and so part of that is classroom time, and then part of that is actually going to buildings. They're actually touring the new Costco building, which is under construction, because it benefits us to see those buildings under construction.
My schedule cleared up all of a sudden. I want to jump in on that.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
But we're going to be developing some of the recruit training, because the fact of it is, in getting EMS started, it's kind of the same way we talked about earlier with fire training and them not having the EMS licensure. We have had to hire EMS personnel getting their EMS division started that may not have had fire training. And so Chief Lively is going to establish a recruit training program for us that we will be doing our own recruit training. That way, if we have a fantastic paramedic that comes to us from somewhere else, that may not have the fire training, we can train them to that dual role to where they're capable of doing all of those things.
And it all happens in-house. So if something happens, you can still send them on their own duties. And really, you don't have to send them too much to maybe like a conference or a training in another city. They get to stay right here under Scott's
because in the past, and we've got some recruits down there now. So it's not to say that we will not ever send anybody to the Tennessee Fire and Codes Academy. They do a great job with their training program. But at the same time, when we can do it in-house, we can do it much easier and better. And you don't have those people offline for 10 weeks, kind of out of pocket for 10 weeks. They stay here. We get them through recruit training. And we're getting them through the same quality recruit training, the 400 hours that they would get going to TFAC right here in-house. And that's something that's going to be established within our programs, as well as officer development training is something that is really close to my heart. And I know it's close to Chief Lively's heart as well, to make sure that we're developing our personnel. So career development, whether that's going from the next level of being a firefighter to becoming an engineer to drive the trucks and pump the trucks and operate the aerials, to becoming an officer, becoming a lieutenant, getting into supervisory roles and performing leadership training and all that stuff. So all of that is coming in detail with this new position that we created within the training division.
Mark, you're home. You are. Mark has dropped a lot on me in the last 20 minutes of what he has done in the past 8 months. I would hate to know that I've missed anything. Is that all you've done the last 8 months?
Well, we've tried to do a few things.
Job well done, man. So, I give Mark a hard time. He's a great balance of be respectful and a leader, but also enjoys what he does and is able to have fun with his command staff and cut up with his men and women.
Just a little bit.
We do.
So
just
I might be known for that just a tad.
I love it. I love it.
The brunt of most of the jokes, I can attest to that. Let me just say that part, and you have as well. I'm probably 1A and 1B.
Y'all pray for me and Scott now.
But this guy's solid. He's just solid people.
He's
a great chief, and he's just good people.
If
you're just good people, you can do a lot of stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm honored.
Kenny Martin does good. He hires good people, and they have a pedigree behind them, but good people's number one in his heart.
And when you say the last 8 months, I've got to give a lot of credit to Chief Edwards. Chief Edwards and Chief Newman, but especially Chief Edwards. Chief Edwards had a vision when he came here as the deputy chief to have a lot of things going on with the growth that needed to happen within the department. And some of the things that he already had put into place before I ever got here have developed the framework for us to grow like we have and to provide the service that we have. But especially the hire of Chief Newman and then bringing on the emergency medical services and how big of an endeavor that was. That goes without saying that they did a fantastic job of getting that done and making that program grow. And now we're just making it grow even better. Got the third ambulance on in October. So, we had 2 running at first. Now we've got 3. So we're providing that level of service in every area of the city. And it's crazy the way that we've developed and the things that we've done.
He was the interim chief for 7 months, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
7. I was at Rotary one time and said 2, and he's given me heck ever since. But really, he's just able to breathe now because he was doing a lot as the interim chief and now can handle a little bit more of the operations while you handle your side of things. So really, he's really able to dive in and fine tune some of the details lately, which is really good. So, we love doing these. We're going to do these probably once a month. I will like to say that next week on Wednesday, I believe that'd be the first Wednesday of every month at Firehouse Subs. Is our kids' night from 5 to 7. So
we have a fire truck over there. Kids get to see the fire truck as well as I think they've got somebody that creates some great balloon things, a balloon artist over there that does a lot of that. So we're happy to partner with JR and Firehouse Subs as well. But there's a lot of great places in Mount Juliet, and we want to highlight those as we go through, including Cinco de Mayo that we're here today. And
Jesus Hernandez is the manager. Y'all patronize the business pretty often. A lot of great things to say about him and the staff.
Absolutely. They're fantastic staff. They do a great job. It's kind of nestled up here on the northwest side of the community. It's right here in the corner, kind of. Yeah. It's real close.
Don't forget about them.
To the city limits, but don't forget about them because they're right here in this shopping center, and they do a fantastic job. Everybody, I don't know a lot of people that don't like Mexican food and great Mexican food, and they've got it here. I mean, it's phenomenal food and just a great atmosphere and just great people.
Especially Cinco de Mayo. That name really carries weight in the Middle Tennessee area. Never had a bad Cinco de Mayo. We're going to just name off a couple of things on this menu. I'll be honest, my agenda here is not only to promote the fire department, but also to promote Cinco de Mayo because, as you know, we're so dependent on sales tax. So we do this video at 11:30 as you're getting ready to go to lunch, not at 2 o'clock. But we would do it at 2 as you're thinking about dinner plans already. But like,
Yep.
you know, they have fajita nacho supreme, fajita quesadilla, a lot of other things I can't pronounce on here. The California burrito, a favorite of mine. Plenty of lunch specials and drinks and beverages for the late night crowd as well. So we're going to get to eat.
Fajita taco salad.
Fajita taco salad. That's yours.
Chimichangas are great.
Chimichangas are great.
Those are a
What's
couple
Joey
of my
get?
favorites. He gets a variety of things.
Joey looks like he's been fasting.
Quesadillas,
He's getting these
quesadillas.
muscles
He
on
is.
on his forearms and stuff. He knew we were going to do it.
He's
I'm
leaning
complimenting him. Usually it's worse.
Yeah.
When the
He's
camera's off, it's much worse. I can promise y'all that.
He's thinning down, and it's not because we're not feeding him. It's just he's thinning down.
Yeah. I'm trying to join y'all as well. So thank y'all for joining us here. Chief Mark Foulks, Justin Beasley, your communications director. We're going to call this Fireside Chat until we find a better name, but I like it. I think it's pretty cool. Maybe we can work a actual fire up one day.
Well,
No?
see. We'll see.
That's just more work for you. So
We'll see.
come see us Cinco de Mayo, 14795 Lebanon Road. We'll see y'all all next month and hopefully next Wednesday as well at Firehouse Subs.